And we're back with segment 2. It's media time. And I know we didn't do movie night this week. Let's lead off with that right there.
Nope.
So we don't actually have a movie to talk about that we've both seen, but I feel like this is the segment that we could go on for hours without any
Yeah.
predefined topic. But I'm going to start off because I've recently been finally plowing through a series that I've wanted to finish for a long time, but I could never quite get past like the beginning of the second season. The first season was excellent, couldn't get past the beginning of the second one for a while, and that's the
Right.
series Vikings. I think it was originally a History Channel show. I don't know if somebody else bought it later or if it changed, but
Wait,
it's
so it's all factual then?
no, it's not. It's more like oh,
'Cause that
what's
tends to be what the History Channel does.
yeah, it's not like that. It's like a dramatization. So, think you know how like Peaky Blinders, like there are actual historical events in it and historical figures,
Right.
but it's not a history and factual show. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
it's
so go on.
it takes it basically it follows the life of the one of the most famous Vikings, Ragnar Lothbrok, who was the Viking who led the attack on Lindisfarne in the UK, that monastery that like in northern England that was basically attacked unawares and demolished by a Viking
Hmm.
raid. He he also like it was around the time where the Vikings A started to attack England, and B started to realize that they could go into mainland Europe, like France and whatnot, by using their ships to sail upriver. But yeah,
Yeah.
very very good show. What were you gonna say?
There's a oh shit, it was presented by Richard Hammond and Greg Wallace? Oh my god. This is a very old show that I'm about to talk about. Have you ever heard of a show called Time Commanders?
No. What?
Okay, so it was on when I was very young, and it's okay. I don't know the exact facts because obviously I was very young, but basically it was on TV. It was in 2003 that it aired, and it was okay. Right, I can't remember if they made it more of a game or if it was literally a historical reenactment. But they had this big studio and these big screens. They even had like a map with classical, war type looking pieces of wood that you could move around and strategize. And
Yeah,
basically, they played Rome Total War.
but in real life.
But no, 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 no. It was Rome Total War they were playing.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I think they reenacted historical battles on Rome Total War on the TV.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and obviously you know Richard Hammond, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
apparently he presented it in 2005. Greg Wallace, do you know Greg Wallace?
No, I don't.
He's, you know what MasterChef is?
I know what it is. I don't know who's on it or what they look
Okay.
like.
He's the bald guy on MasterChef that loves ice cream and sweet things. He's a great guy.
I'll have to look him
Um,
up. But
but
yeah.
yeah, I can't remember if it was literally a historically accurate thing where they had all the units and they would show the battles how they
Hmm.
would have gone, or whether it was. I think at some point there was like two teams just fighting each other on TV. Um, that's kind of what the. That's kind of what when you're describing like historically accurate Vikings and then not historically accurate Vikings. That's kind of what I was thinking of.
Okay. But it's so it's nothing like that. It's actually like a high budget, like well done dramatization um of
Yeah, no,
everything.
it's like acted out with actual people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But
yeah, I think making it like that though, where either you dramatize it or make it into a game, is a great. Is I'm sure it's super popular because of the fact that kids would actually watch that shit. Like when you watch a lot of World War Two shows and things, they have limited footage, and the footage is quite. Obviously, they can't show like people getting blown up or anything,
yeah.
so it can be quite dull. And I think it loses people's interest. But when they reenact or they have make a game of it, I think it's a lot more. People eat that shit up.
They do, and so, God, you're making me want to talk about something else. I
Sorry.
do still want to talk about Vikings, but
Yes.
A quick point on that. That is something that has been a pet peeve of mine. It's something that, you're right. As a kid, when I was very young, that's the sort of thing that made me like watching the History Channel and their documentaries, because they'd have a very over enthusiastic historian, happy that he's going to be on TV talking about the event and describing it, and then they'd have reenactments and the sounds of battle and, like, just something that would keep people interested in it. As a kid, I thought that, oh, that's so cool. As an adult, I'm like, could you please just let me talk to the boring historian? Like,
Really?
I just want to hear him talking about it, because
Huh.
I feel like I would like those documentaries a lot more now as an adult if you cut out all of the reenactment bits.
Wow.
And it's not because I don't like the reenactments. I like those, but I'd rather one or the other. I don't want them spliced together.
Yeah, I suppose if you're watching like Troy, and every 10 minutes it would cut away for a 2-minute segment where a guy talks about what's just happened,
Right.
but actually happened, it would be a very jarring, and it would pull you out of the suspension of belief.
And that's kind of what annoyed me as an adult about those History Channel documentaries, because it'd be like, I either want to listen to a very factual, it could be an interesting presenter, but I want to listen to this guy talk about the event. I don't now need to go, but if I want to watch somebody doing like a reenactment, even if it's not like a dramatization, like an entertaining TV show, not like in the same way as Troy or Vikings, but even if it's just like a reenactment,
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see that on its own, maybe with a commentary over it, like over it, not cutting back and forth. Anyway, I just needed to get that off my chest. But
Yeah, sorry.
so the series itself it's quite good and quite well made. Not a lot's known about the Vikings themselves. Like, they didn't write a whole lot. They didn't have a system of writing aside from runes. So what people know about them is what they know from the people they attacked, and then they wrote things down. Which... Sorry, I'm just... typing is coming through really loud.
Sorry.
It's fine.
I'll stop typing. There you go.
It's the same sort of situation you have with the Mongols. The only reason we know anything about Mongol culture and like what happened with them and anything about what they were in ancient times is because they attacked China and China wrote it down.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the Vikings. Like, the only reason we know anything about Viking culture and whatnot is because they attacked people, and the people they attacked wrote it down.
Yeah. China tattled.
But but this show does a very, very good job. One thing I really like about the show, and Raymond's obsessed with this show. He's like chomping at the bit to see the latest season that's coming out, because it's apparently still airing. I'm on season 4 now, so in the last 2 weeks I've watched 2 seasons of it, and blown past where I was before, because there's a bit of a slow point in the beginning of season 2. But once you get past that, the series just keeps going, and it's just awesome again.
Okay.
But they do a very good job trying to portray what the Vikings' like home life and culture was like back in their homelands, essentially. They also they don't fall into the trap of making one side or the other look like the good guys and the other ones look at the bad guys. They do what in my opinion is a pretty fair portrayal of what Viking culture and what they would have been like. Not just portraying them as ruthless killing machines or misunderstood, more primitive peoples. They don't fall into either of those traps. And the Christian nations that they attack, they don't portray them as like ignorant zealots or as the beacons of civilization. They do a very fair portrayal on both ends, showing the ugly parts and the positive parts of both societies.
would you be able to compare it to that of, say, Game of Thrones then, where no one group of people are necessarily the good people, like they all do bad things?
Yeah,
Um,
I haven't seen the shows, but I've read all the books that are out so far. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I think that's actually pretty fair because in there's no everything is shitty in like in the beginning of that series. You kind of think the book series at least was starting off from the perspective of the Starks. You kind of think that oh maybe they're the good people, but what you quickly find out is they're like just this one somewhat noble family, like noble in the sense of being honorable, in a sea
yeah.
of just really shitty people.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things that happens, this isn't spoilers because it's all in like the first couple of episodes, um, is that they're executing a guy from their clan, aren't they? Which I suppose to some people could be noble, but to others it's like you're executing a guy. It's kind of a bit harsh.
Yeah,
Um,
that actually happens like in the first chapter of the book.
yeah, I assumed it would be.
Yeah.
Um, so you think the Game of Thrones fans would potentially uh, flock to Vikings
It,
then,
it depends
or
on
is
what they're
that it?
looking for. It
Whatever.
depends on what they're looking for out of it. If they're looking for another like medieval show that has that same kind of real grittiness, then yeah. If
Yeah.
they're looking for like magic and dragons and shit, no.
Oh, okay, that's good because that's kind of the emo factor is kind of one of the things that put me off of Game of Thrones so much is that it's
Yeah.
it wasn't very real. No, not much realism, or at least it certainly lost realism as it went along.
That's
To me,
HBO's fault. In the books, it actually maintains it for a long time. In the books, there is sort of a supernatural element to things, but it's very subdued, and it only start and when it finally starts to come into its own in the books, it's had 4 books and like 4,000 pages to build up to that point, and it seems natural. The shows didn't do it that way, from what I heard. Again, I haven't seen them. I'm going secondhand here because I haven't watched the ending to Game of Thrones because I am still waiting for that fat fuck to put out the next 2 books, which
okay,
apparently are written. He just is in the process of finalizing them. But yes, if
okay.
what you're looking for is that sort of like gritty medieval drama, then Vikings I think is really you'll like it.
Hmm. You might even get a brain cell or two from it.
And they do portray the history pretty well. Um, they jump quite a few years quickly, like occasionally between episodes, like a year and a half will pass. And they do that because the raids had long times between them. They could only raid in the brief summer months in Scandinavia.
Yeah, I mean, so you've probably worked out by now. But I quite like these, not not necessarily. Well, yes, but historical, but mainly like kind of militaristic films and things.
Yeah.
Even if it's like God, what was that? Political, not political. That lawyer film about the oh my God, Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Shit, we watched this movie. We talked about it on the
Yeah,
podcast too.
we did. Terrible.
You can't
Very
handle the
famous.
truth.
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
So even like I also have a bit of a nut for those kinds of films, but like I do like them because there's always that.
Yeah. Oh
There's
my
always a
god.
particular level of drama when it comes to warfare, I suppose, even if it's old fashioned. So, I even if it's like Zulu, for example, Zulu is a great concept to me because
Hmm.
it's a band of brothers alone in the middle of the desert. Um,
That is a
well,
movie. That movie came out in the
not
'60s,
desert.
right?
I mean, very very old movie. But I remember it still, even though must have watched it like over 10 years ago, but it's still
Yeah.
stuck in my mind because
But
I don't know. It's just something that
I mean, I'm on
it's
board with you
affectionate.
there. It's one of the reasons that I still really I've rewatched Troy quite a few times because I just really like that movie. It's got that
It
same
scratches that historical itch,
yeah.
whilst also being a cool action-packed movie.
Hmm.
Um, because well, any movie, if you stick the words based on a true story at the end of it, that's kind of it adds to the tension because you're like, oh shit, this literally happened. Like the gravitas, is that the right word?
Yeah, gravity. I think you mean
Is
gravity, not gravitas. Gravitas is like you have a commanding presence. Gravity is
yeah
like it's a
the
very
commanding
heavy
presence
situation.
of the film. Like when something is revealed, it hits you twice as hard because oh shit, this literally happened in real life.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, one of the reasons I like there are moments in Vikings because it is based on historical events that I can feel like the writers had a lot of latitude with what they could have the Vikings doing back at home. Like they were bound in
yeah,
what the society was sort of like, or what people imagine it was like based on the evidence. But in terms of the character interactions and the other players that only interact with the main characters when they're back in Scandinavia, the writers had a lot of
yeah,
latitude there. And every now, but whenever they get back to historical events, there are certain plot points that have to happen. And for the most
yeah.
part, it's a very smooth transitioning from things that are pure fiction based on some historical evidence and things that are hard historical fact. They do
Yeah.
just they do it's the writing in the show is quite good. There's only a few bits where I was like, what? It just story tropes. People
Hmm.
like characters making irrational decisions because they're like, oh, this episode's been kind of dull. We need some drama.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the I mean, to be fair, it's only the main events that you want to like historical wise.
hmm,
So obviously in Troy they had to do the Trojan horse.
yeah.
Like they had to. That is probably the most significant part of that film
Oh,
because it's the point where they finally break through.
that reminds me. So, speaking of other events in Troy, there's the I was about to say the other one they do is when Achilles gets shot in the ankle because the whole
Yeah.
Achilles tendon thing they have to do that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Um, I was playing. Do you know the board game Taboo?
I've heard of it.
The basic rundown: you've got teams of at least two people. One person is reading from a card, well, not reading from a card. They're trying to get the other person to guess a word on a card, and there are 5 words that they can't say to try and get the person to do it. Like no gestures, you have to use words. So I'm playing it. I was back
Just
home.
charades.
What?
Charades?
No, you can't. No, you can't use any motions or gestures. You have to talk. It's the opposite of charades, actually.
Oh,
In charades,
yeah,
you
okay.
can't talk. You have to use
Pictionary.
gestures. No, it's nothing like Pictionary.
Okay, I'll stop. I'll shut up.
You have a word, not a picture, and
Yeah.
what you have to do. I mean, it's a similar concept to those two games, but so say my word was mess, right? I have to get my partner to say the word mess. But to get them to say the word mess, I have to describe. I have to use words, not gestures, not motions, not pictures. But there are 5 words on the card that are taboo that I cannot say.
Yes.
This is a long, elaborate description of the game. I'm trying to get to the. So last weekend I was home for my birthday, and one of my friends, she and I were on a team, and we were actually doing quite well. One of the words I got was Achilles, and
Right.
I knew. There was a bunch of words I couldn't say. I couldn't say like Trojan. I couldn't say Greek. I couldn't say all this other stuff. I didn't even think of any of those. I was like the asshole who got shot in the foot. she got it instantly.
To be fair, you didn't even have to include the asshole. I don't think.
I didn't. I could have said this guy got shot in the foot, and it probably would have worked out just as well. But when we're talking about
Yeah.
Troy,
I take it heel and tendon were both.
yes, heel and tendon were also in there.
Yeah. Okay. What about ankle? Anyway, sorry.
No, I don't remember if ankle was there.
Oh.
It is quite
maybe.
a fun game, though. If you've never played it, I would recommend it. It's a
Yeah,
good
I
party
feel like
game.
if you know enough synonyms, you could probably break the game.
Yeah, well, it's a game of diction. There are some things that, like, there were moments playing it. There's always moments when you're playing it where somebody will say a word and then the person will guess it instantly, and everyone else is like, "That word wasn't on the card. Like, you were allowed to say
Yeah.
that." But
Yeah. Rip.
oh my god, yeah.
I'm trying. There was a board game over here that was very similar. I think it started with an A or an M, and it's just driving me crazy. But anyway,
Yeah.
what was the original topic we were talking about?
We were talking
Oh,
about
Vikings.
Yeah, we were talking about Vikings and historical dramas in general. We
Okay.
moved on to Troy, and you were talking
Well-
about how there are major plot points, the historical plot points, but it's almost better that those are the only ones you're hitting.
Yeah. Yeah, because they can fit in all the little. They can fit in all the scenes with like one guy murdering the entire group of people. Because at the end of the day, it's very hard to get the direct details of a battle. Like, you might get it from a hero's perspective or something, because someone is specifically looking out for what he was doing. Although even that can be, stretched and shrunk for the writer's purpose.
Mhm.
But the actual events, like, can't really be denied as easily.
Yeah,
So as long as they hit the main points.
That actually reminds me of something. At the end of one of the seasons for Vikings, a major character, it was made out to look like that they were dying, and that they did die. And a lot of the times with historical dramas, I'm really into history. Like, I've read a lot of history books, watched a lot of documentaries. It's been an obsession of mine since I was a little kid. But
Yeah.
I know a good amount about the Vikings and about like the sagas of Ragnar Lothbrok and his sons, and I got to this point and I didn't know about this character. I'm like, oh, do they actually die here? And I had to fight the urge to like grab my phone and pull up Wikipedia, because I'm like, no, I'm gonna spoil the plot point. And because a lot of the time with historical dramas like that, they'll make something out like it's a big tense moment. Oh, is this character gonna die? Are they gonna live? What's gonna happen here?
Yeah.
And I'll already know just from a prior knowledge of history. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not tense at all. This happens.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes going into these things, it kind of feels like you spoiled it for yourself, but it's just knowing history.
Yeah, exactly.
The game I was thinking about was called Articulate. By the way.
Articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
So
never sell over here. I don't think most Americans can spell articulate.
It's how quickly you can describe a word without actually saying it. So
It's actually very similar to Taboo.
Yeah, that's kind of all those games that I listed earlier. I kind of put them all in one category, and I just started listing them.
But to be
It's all
fair,
basically the same, but with just different ways of portraying.
Yeah, because in charades, you're trying to get somebody to guess a word with just gestures. In Pictionary, you're trying to do it with just drawings. And in Taboo, or Articulate, you're trying to do it with just words.
Yeah, and the other one I was thinking of was the... Wait, no, charade's the one where you have, like, a thing stuck to your forehead.
No, that's... No, charades is like... So, there's a bunch of different versions, but it's a game where... So I might go to you and say your word or phrase is surprise party. And so you would have to get people in the room to guess surprise party. And everyone, so you're doing gestures, you might like make like you're tying balloons or jumping out from behind a couch, or I don't know, playing games or something, drinking to get people to say party. Like, it's all with gestures, and you can kind of
No one would know that I'd even started. Just me drinking.
I mean, like pantomime. I mean, yeah, you could really drink if you want, but
No, I don't mean that.
But yeah.
What's the one with the? It's like you each get a card, and they have like a character on them or an actress or something. What's that called?
That's also. I don't know what that's called.
There's another one. There was an app, wasn't there? Not recently. It was while I was in college, where you'd have something on your phone, you put it up to your forehead. I just hit myself in my forehead. This is the second time in this podcast I've smacked myself. I have some kind of word on it that people would have to.
The app is actually a version of an older. First of all, that's an old game, and people used to do it with like index cards and stuff. And I've actually one of my friends in high school had a version of that game where it was like a professionally made one, and it'd have like a deck of cards and a headband, and everyone would. Yeah, it was exactly like you said.
Yeah,
everyone
that's what
could
I was
see.
thinking of originally.
Everyone could see who you are except for you, and they have to try and you have to figure out who the hell you are based on what people are reacting to you. That sentence became a jumble of words.
I get what you mean.
I'm talking too fast. I'm getting tongue tied. I had 2 pots of tea this morning, which is probably why I'm this hyper.
Yeah, I'm on my 3rd cup. I just finished my 3rd cup of coffee. The app one though, the app one was really fun while it was about. There would be like you could choose a category, so it'd be like films or something.
Yeah.
And so the person put up to their head, and it could say like Titanic on it or something. And the other person had to describe it without saying the word, and if they got it right, they tilt the phone up. If they got it wrong, they tilt the phone down, and then it go on to the next one.
Interesting. Okay.
Man, we should if we had more than one person, then I feel like we could play that. In fact, actually no, fuck it. The 2 of us could play that.
We could. The problem with doing that is that
We'd need cameras on. And stuff.
well, no. Even if we had cameras on, usually the camera shows you what your camera is filming,
Right.
so you'd be able to see your own forehead.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we can find a way around that.
Yeah, maybe just have it like on an off screen somewhere, like only you can.
That might be a fun level 3? Part 3.
Level 3.
Level 3. God, I'm such a fucking nerd.
Finishing up with level 2 right now.
You said alright, this is something that I caught you out on earlier, but I didn't say anything at the time.
Yeah.
You were describing Vikings, right?
Yeah.
And you said you were talking about the other characters in it, and you said the other players.
Did I actually?
Yeah. Well, there's 3 minutes left, so I feel like I can move on quickly to the thing that I've been binge watching this week.
Yes. Give us your. It's your turn in the final 3 minutes.
Kaiser has been drowning out with like this topic for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I haven't known shit about it. But now I have finally watched season 1.5 of this TV series. It's The Boys. Okay, I am fully teched up on it now. I understand. To run through it very quickly, first episode, freaking awesome. They played the script at the end of it, which I frickin' love. Alright, not the script, forget that. Not the script. London's Calling. That song.
Yeah.
Which is a really old song. The Clash, not the script. Fuck me. The Clash. Yeah, first episode, fucking ace in the hole. First season, really, really good. But definitely do not watch it while there are parents or children in the room, because it is not PG.
Yeah.
And the ending was really bad, but now I'm kind of into season 2. I'm kind of thinking it wasn't so bad anymore. There are things that I realise now that at the end of season 3 looked so much worse than they actually are.
This is that's what I meant yesterday, because I was trying not to spoil season 2 for you.
Yeah, I know
we were
you
talking
were.
about this. I was like,
I've realised what you meant.
yeah, I was like, you're making assumptions about the ending.
Yeah. And yeah, no, the characters, love the characters. I think the evil guys are their attitudes are very well portrayed. I think the idea of an evil villain that people think is a good and caring soul is a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
There's some plot points that didn't make much sense to me, but I won't go into them.
Yeah, I feel. Finish your thought, because I do want to.
I'm on to season 2. I've been told that the first part of season 2 wasn't very good, and yeah, it does slow down a little bit, but I don't think it's as good as season 1 so far. I'm on episode 4, I think.
Okay, you're right when it starts to pick up.
overall, if you can deal with a bit of gore and a bit of nudity, then I think it's a really, really good series.
Yeah.
Also, it's on Amazon, so you don't have to go to Netflix.
Which, it's funny because early in the podcast, like, as in like episode 3 or 4, we were railing against Amazon because it wouldn't let us stream together.
Yeah.
So we could watch things.
But then Netflix fucked up.
Netflix fucked up and Amazon fixed their glitches. So
Yeah.
how the tables have turned.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I really, I love the one thing. All right, I'm gonna ask you right off the bat: who is your favorite character in the series so far, season 1 or 2?
Okay.
As far as you've gotten, who is your favorite character? Any of them?
Right, this is gonna sound really weird. I mean, not the character, but one of the reasons why I like him so much. So, Billy Butcher is got to be my favorite character. He is like, I've seen him in a lot of films previously, including the really good Judge Dredd film. Not the one with Sylvester Stallone.
Mm-hmm.
And in Riddick, which is another series which I absolutely loved. But the actor looks a lot like one of my cousins, and it weirds me out every time. Like, he looks so similar in my mind. But yeah, his accent, really cool. His fashion sense, really cool. I'm talking about the actor, not my cousin. My cousin's a bit more of a farmery accent. I don't think it would quite fit. Oh my god. But yeah, definitely he's my favourite character, followed by Frenchie.
Yeah, I think...
then probably the Starlight.
Okay, she like, depending on the episode, kind of moves back and forth in my mind. Yeah, she has her good and bad episodes. I see. One of the I don't need. I asked this question. I realized I was going to say, "Oh, my favorite character is," and then I started to think about it. I'm like, "Oh shit," because I'm torn between quite a few of them. That's the other. The series has so many good characters in it. It's kind of hard to pick one.
Yeah.
But
I like where they went with Maeve.
Yeah, she's actually a surprisingly compelling character. Like,
I think she gets better in the end of the first season / second season.
I think I would put her above Starlight in terms of, like, my favorite. Like, if I was making a list, I'm torn between Homelander and Butcher, because
Really? I hate Homelander.
I think I hate him as a person, right? If I was, he's a fucking cockbite, but he, as a character, like, in terms of writing, in terms of how well written he is as a, okay, I think that's how I have to think about it. If I just, my favorite character in terms of, like, personality, who I think is just, like, cool and awesome, I actually think I'd put Frenchie above Butcher, but Butcher would be my second. And my third would definitely be Queen Maeve, because, and above Starlight, because Starlight wouldn't even be my top 3, but actually Maeve might even be. No, Butcher still wins. You're right though. The accent, the attitude, the look, that he nails it, like, in that character role. And he's got quite a few good quotes, most of which I don't want to do because I'll have to mark this podcast as explicit when I put it up on YouTube.
It's explicit already. We've sworn, so I literally, it's fine.
Oh my god.
With Homelander, for a start, I don't know if this is just the actor, in which case I'm very sorry to the actor, but he looks plastic.
Maybe it is just the actor, but I honestly think that a lot of that was on purpose. It's all this.
Yeah, because he looks like
veneer.
a model superhero.
Exactly, it's all a veneer.
Yeah.
It's very plastic and fake, and it's, like, shiny and great on the surface. But
and his psychological aspect is he's a great horror villain, because you don't know what he's going to do. He's a fucking psycho. You cannot read him. And I guess that's possibly one of the reasons I don't like him, is because he creeps me the fuck out. Like when he's all super happy about meeting that the blind guy who's going to replace
Oh
Amendment
yeah,
7,
yeah.
right?
And then he
And he gets to the end, he's like, oh, but what if you know,
this.
bam, dead, and he's super angry, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, that part actually, like that scene, like I literally I jumped in my seat when that happened. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, full 180.
But that's kind of why I made the clarification. I like the way he's written, and it's for that reason, that he's like a perfectly written sociopath. You have no idea what, in every scene, you have no idea what the hell he's going to do. And the actor portrays it just... I could go... God. I said I was going to have like one final thought to say that, and now we've gone on for quite a bit. But I'm glad that you're...
round it off with a closing statement.
Wait, you have one?
No, I'm asking you to round it off.
All right, round it off with a closing statement. I'm glad that you're finally watching The Boys, because now I have somebody to like talk about it with, because it's an absolutely excellent series, and I'm curious what you'll think of the major plot reveals in season 2, which you have not gotten to yet.
Maybe we'll come back to it next podcast.
Yep. Either way, we are at the end of segment 2 media. We are about to move into segment 3. Thank you for listening, and you'll hear us again soon.